Hello everybody and welcome. This is, as you can probably see from our lovely backdrop, the Singapore Grand Prix. We're so excited to bring this to you today. We've got the sprint going on here. It is a rainy afternoon in Singapore. It should be a really interesting one actually, but these drivers are just making their way around the circuit. The track is obviously very greasy, very wet as well, so we're expecting much faster lap times later on for the actual Grand Prix race itself. But for now, we're just going to have the sprint here, and it should be a really interesting one. We obviously don't know the tokens yet, but we can reveal the upgrades for this week. But we might just have a look at the driver's standings after the quali results of the sprint, in which Grandy is going to start from pole position. That's fantastic. Nearly half a second between him and Andres, who lines up on the front row. Rito will start from third place. Singapore is a tight, twisty street circuit, and you're going to struggle a lot in a car that doesn't have very good grip. But Grandy's in the Thunder X doing a very good job there. Andres second, Rito in third, and Bluebell will start fourth. Sobel will start fifth, and Kubo in sixth. Hemeneca in 7th, ahead of Urus, who's in 8th. 9th for Jake. They're in a Porsche sandwich with some British meat in the middle. Julo starts 10th. Kamikaze will start 11th, and Pit Crew in 12th. Jaruni in 13th. Anti in 14th, and it's 15th for Goose. 16th for Vladinator. 17th for Apple Amazing. 18th for Kado. 19th for Spuda. 20th for Hanandi. Some things to address quickly. 3 special liveries being ran this race. The British Aerial Virtuals, obviously commemorating their winning of the Constructors' Championship last time out in Sepang. Fantastic job by them all across this season, but they've not had a very strong qualifying session here. They find themselves upper mid-table. We've also got an FVR special livery, with their 2 drivers qualifying 13th and 15th for the sprint today, and a KRT dark livery. This is their redemption races. They need to be able to grab some points here, because 4 points is all that they need to stay up, ensure they can stay up if Fuerza Roja fail to score any more. However, it's looking very sketchy for the Polish team at the moment, considering their future in the division. This is really interesting. We'll have a look at the driver's standings. Nothing can be confirmed today, but Eurus goes into this with a 4-point lead. He's going to look to extend that in the sprint if the BAVs can get into the points. Sobel is our only driver who isn't a BAV driver, who is still in championship contention with the maximum number of points still able to be scored being 58. That rules everybody from Kubo downwards out of the championship, but it looks like with the 46-point gap in between Jake and Sobel, it will be coming back to BAV just as the drivers, just as the constructors' titles did. Looking at the constructors, BAV are crown champions already. Very close fight between BFX, Velocity, Porsche, WTEC, FVR and SFR. Thunder X adrift, but going to look up to make up some points today. They haven't scored a podium in any capacity, be it sprint or race, unlike every other team ahead of them. And Fuerza Roja and KRT still separated by just 3 points. That is all that I can say coming into this sprint here. We don't know the tokens just yet. We'll find those out soon. But here is 10 laps at Singapore. A wet, drizzly afternoon. We're underway for the sprint. Grandy immediately goes to cover off Andres. Let's see if that's going to be enough. Rito's able to get through, so that's really interesting. There, can he challenge for 2nd place? Bluebell's going to be right at the back of Rito, coming into the left-hander. Can Bluebell make a move potentially here? He's going to send it to the inside. Rito has to go wide. Bluebell backs out of that. That allows Sobel to go through. Bluebell's teammate now right behind him. Sobel's teammate right ahead of him. Not anymore. Bluebell slides back through into 4th position. They all clatter that wall on their way through and sweep wide into the hairpin. Is there any collateral damage from that? Jake's down to 13th position there off the back of this pack with Anti-Pit Crew, Kamikaze and Julo. Remember, only the top 6 score points, and it's pretty spray racing around here. They're all just thwacking it about the track. Kamikaze just ahead of this pack. He's going to look to make his way into the points. That will be a very tough ask in a sprint where the points are so exclusive. Bluebell hits the wall hard there on the exit of turn 2. Andries and Rito both looking to make moves. Andries on the inside, 3 wide to the corner. Andries boosts it. Can he hold them up at the apex? Not quite enough. They're 3 wide again through the next and next corners. Bluebell and Rito get that straight line speed run. Bluebell squeezed into the wall though. He's back into the clutches of Andries again, and it's a great scrap for the sprint podium here. Grandy all the while looking to become our 3rd sprint winner in Sunday League Virtual. The first time it was this man Rito. The second time it was Eurus with the final corner overtake in Istanbul. Can it be Grandy now? He's not had a good season. ThunderX have not had a good season. Only about 40 points to their name in the Constructors' Championships. They've been cut adrift, not in the relegation fight, but not very impressive either. Points here and there, but not that regularly. Rito at the great exit. He's challenging Grandy up the inside. He goes. Grandy can't make anything stick around the outside there. That's a very difficult corner to get your elbows out into if you're on the outside, because you're just going to be shown into that lovely bit of runoff and the wall, and that is a big old time loss. Grandy can get a better run down the straight. Does he have more straight line speed? Andrews takes a wider line to the corner. That looks to have worked as he just clips the wall on the exit there. He's right up to the back of Rito once more, but takes a bad line through that corner. We'll have to see how he goes there. He's just backing Grandy up at the moment. Grandy's wins just slipping away as the track ever more slippery here in Singapore. Andries off of the turn 1 run off. Grandy into the wall there. It's pretty dirty racing going on. Eurus and Bluebell meanwhile fighting. Can Eurus try and grab a point or two in this sprint? He's moved up into 5th place. That means his championship lead currently stands at 6 points. Jake has not done, he's recovered from 13th, but he's not gotten up into those points just yet. Kamikaze and Hetmenica in this chaotic start to the sprint in Singapore, currently running 9th and 10th. Commie would love 9th in a real race, but here in a sprint it's not going to do him all the world of good. They have no bearing on the real Grand Prix, although that may be changed for next season, so keep an eye out for that. Andries to the outside of Grandy, going into the last 2 corners. That's a fantastic overtaking manoeuvre from the Dutchman. But he does get squeezed off by Grandy going to that corner again. You have to be so careful on the outside. Very little grip to play with. Kubo can stick around the outside of Andries. He deploys boost well. Can he get 2 overtakes done in a couple corners? He'd be going from miles back from on Grandy, but he doesn't do it in the end. Andries looks to have a half attack back at him. He's going to have a good run down the straight into the right, then into the chicane where they clip the wall and the sharp left-hand corner. And it looks like Kubo's just going to stay ahead of Andries, be able to attack Grandy again. Goes for a move late in the day. That wasn't going to come off. He really has to stomp on the brake pedal to get that stopped at the apex. Eurus still there. That's Sobel and Bluebell and Jake, currently the top 8 drivers, all looking pretty decent for points in this sprint. Commie broken clear of the pack containing the bottom 11 or so drivers. The tyres are starting to wear out, remember, and Rito is running away. Can he win the sprint just as he did at Paul Ricard? It could be a really interesting event here. Kubo's still there, and Andries as well. See what else is going on. Eurus still being attacked by Bluebell, who has a half look into the sharp left-hander. That's such a dangerous corner to go for a move in. People do it a lot in real racing at, sorry, UR2D in that sense, real racing. And sorry, of course, my mistake. Rito did not actually win the France sprint. It was Antti who then looked set to win the race the next day, if not for a huge mechanical issue, losing him a ton of time and putting him down to 7th position, I believe it was, by the end. But no discredit to Antti. He was the winner of the first ever sprint. Rito looking for a bit of redemption here. Can he take a victory in a sprint? Remember, no podiums for him all season. That's been a sort of broken record in my commentary recently, but he's not managed a single one. This could be his weekend, with BFX for the very first time this season finally having the fastest car, just as they did for the majority of Season 2, and they dominated. Well, I think BAV has invented a new version of the word dominating, because they have been so brutal this season right to the end, and they're still fighting it over the driver's title. And speaking of the driver's title, this could be all the difference. Eurus running in 6th, it's now 5th. He's been scrapping with Bluebell over that position in the last few laps. Can Bluebell get a better exit down here? No, Eurus will beat him to the next right-hander. And the top 3, the top 4 still pretty much as they were. Bluebell looks to the outside here. Can he make a daring move? No, he just goes into the runoff. Eurus gets compromised through the next corner, and Bluebell sneaks his way through. That's a brilliant switchback manoeuvre. And Eurus slams him into the wall, but he gets a penalty for his troubles. really interesting. They're going to come out very close here as soon as that penalty does wear off. Eurus gets the better run. He's just chucking him into walls. Sobel and Jake still behind him. Jake desperately needs to clear Sobel and get back up into that fight over that final point-paying position here in the sprint as Rito puts us through onto lap 9. Grandi has finally broken clear of the Andrews and Kubo fight, but is it too little too late for the Finn? Can he make his great form, his pole position for the sprint, actually matter in the grand scheme of it all? Kubo and Andries still fighting here. This is over 3rd and 4th place, the sprint podium, if you will, if that means anything to you. Andries, gets very twitchy through the chicane, and Kubo has to massively back out to avoid them both being slung into the abyss there. But they go around, and it really is monsoon conditions here in Singapore. It's so wet, and the drivers are skating around. Kubo and Andries still trying to go side by side. I'm imagining all the damage costs after this race is going to be through the roof. They come up to start now what will be the final lap of the race for all of the drivers. Rito still leading. Grandi needs to close up a second in this lap. Rito only lapping a few tenths slower than the Finn at the moment, but will that change? Grandi looks a little closer. He's just gained a couple tenths on the split through there. He needs to string together some good corners. Rito at the wall. Grandi hits the wall just as he does, and there's no slipstream, remember, for these drivers, so he has to get back up to him on pure pace, and the gap staying pretty stationary. This is the final sector where all the time is lost and gained, and Rito just needs to keep his composure as he skates gripless through the last sector, but he has managed it, and he drifts through the final couple corners, and Rito wins the Singapore Sprint. Grandi will come home to finish second, and it's Mart taking third. Kubo in fourth. Eurus will take 2 points for 5th place. Big championship implications there. And Bluebell makes it double points in the sprint for VLO. That's really good for them after a great bit of upgrade success. Jake will only come home 9th. Julo and Hatmenica in the Porsches 10th and 11th, and these are all the non-points paying positions. Apple Amazing with a promising 14th in that gorgeous dark livery that we're going to see in the dark under the lights later on. But Caddo come home 17th, and only his second ever race, second ever event in Sunday League Virtual. It's his first sprint. Rito takes the fast lap as well, no point for that, but it's Rito with 6 points. Grandi scores 5, which is a fair amount of points for ThunderX this season. Andries scores 4, Kubels take 3 points, Eurus will take 2, and Bluebird will take 1. Sobel, Commie, Jake and Julo with the rest of the top 10. Then it was Het, Anti, Pikru, Apley, Jaruni, Vladinator, Caddo, Spuda, Goose, and Nandi. And that is all. We'll see you for the main race. But until then, bye-bye.